Yeah, yellow figure 11, aiming centre chest.
Firing.
Firing.
Hit.
Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. This rifle is a Bergara B14, but it's a slightly different one. This is the Wilderness HMR, and it's actually in 300 PRC. That's quite a large cartridge for a relatively light rifle. This rifle weighs 4.5 kilos, which is 9.9 pounds. Now, when the B14 HMR first came out about must be 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, something like that, it really did replicate a lot of rifles that we were trying to build at the time from Remington 700 actions with Macmillan A3, A5 stocks. And I think it still looks very similar to that kind of gun. Now, that was a great stock, and this is a great stock as well, ergonomically speaking. I'll go a bit more into that in detail in a moment. But essentially, Bergara effectively copied the Remington 700. Now at that stage the Remington 700 was 50 years old. It was 1962 I think it first came about. Now they actually improved critically on it because Remington got a bit lazy, and frankly these days Remington are virtually dead, certainly in the UK. They recessed the recoil lug on the front of the action so that when it was pinned in by the barrel fitting in place it couldn't rotate. They also put a side bolt release catch on there, and they made it, they put a claw extractor on the front of the bolt as well. I'll show you that in a moment. And that addressed the issue that some people had of the actual circlip extractors breaking, so you get a proper claw extractor, plunger ejector, super reliable. Now it's a twin lug bolt, so it's 90-degree lift, and it's 124mm stroke, because this one's actually a long action. You can also have this rifle in short action version. So as I said, this is a 300 PRC. You can have it in 7mm PRC as well. You can also have it in 300 Win Mag, which are all, you know, roughly similar energy wise. 300 PRC technically gives slightly more energy, but in the real world I find it difficult to prove that much different to a 300 Win Mag. You can also have this in 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, and you know, the lowly old 308, which is a great rifle because it just lasts forever. Anyway, so how do we start out? Well, Bergara sort of first came to my attention years ago because they were button rifling barrels, and you could buy aftermarket barrels to fit your different actions and obviously have them made by your gunsmith to fit your gun. So, button rifle, 1 in 9 inch twist. This is a 26-inch long barrel, which is 660mm. These days, anything over 22 inches seems extremely long, and of course I'm actually trying to photograph it against my white background and it's actually reaching over the ends of the paper. Anyway, it's threaded at the muzzle, you get a muzzle brake with it, and I also received a Svemco sound moderator. Now this Svemco sound moderator is quite interesting because you've got a little bayonet fitting that screws onto the end of the barrel, and then that goes on, click, click, and you're on like that. So it's actually very quick to take the rifle apart, put it away, and I always say take your moderators off before you store your rifles because it's not great for corrosion. So, the action 2 lug, Remington 700, everybody talks about Remington 700 footprint these days, of course this still is that, that's the common term. Everything works really simply and very effectively, and doesn't really need a lot of modification. One thing they have done to it is they've spiral fluted the bolts. You get very smooth, fast bolt travel with it. Now, it's got an underside 5-round detachable magazine. It's a steel magazine, AICS type, and you've got an ambidextrous release lever on the front there. Those feed in a single column, no issue feeding, extracting, ejecting, anything like that, except with one of the ammunition types, which I'll talk about in a moment. So the polymer stock is injection molded, as you can see. It's got a nice stippled finish. It's also got a little bit of a splatter spray design on it. You've got stippling at the front, stippling at the grip here, so it's nice and tactile, and it's a good hold on it. Length of pull's 335, 365mm, and you get 3 10mm spacers with it. Now that's 13.1 to 14.3 inches off the top of my head. Gives you a good feel on the rifle, fits well. The trigger is, of course, like any other Remington 700. You can put any Remington 700 compatible trigger on it. This one's got a single stage unit, broke at 1100 grams, which is 40 ounces. And it was actually very nice to use, slightly curved blade, it was crisp, no issues with that at all. Reach to the trigger is about 85mm from the grip, so again you can shoot on these grips, you can shoot thumb wraps, you can shoot thumb up. I'd probably shoot a bit thumb up like that. And it's hard for me to not like the ergonomics of this rifle, because it is effectively a copy of the rifle I built for myself, you know, two or three sort of iterations 15 years ago. So you've got adjustable length of port with the spacers, you've also got adjustable cheek piece height. So there's a locking knob on the side there and that goes up thus. The bolt is recessed into the front of the cheek piece, so you've got no issues there, but you do need to drop that down to take the bolt out. And as we said with the bolt earlier, 2-lug 90-degree lift, plunger ejector, claw extractor on the side. And that all worked very, very well, except for... well, I'll tell you that in a minute, because we'll get to ammo in a minute. Right, last things about this stock. You've got QD sling anchor points on either side, left and right. That's great because you can make a nice biathlon style carry on this gun, and it's going to be really comfortable to use. Again, my modification to my gun did exactly that 15 years ago. Bag rider, butt hook, you can pin it into your shoulder really nicely, and that recoil pad's about an inch and a quarter thick, and it's grippy and it's not too spongy, so you can get the rifle well planted and you can control your pressure on the butt to sort of compensate for vertical elevation shift. So stud on the underside, 2 QDs on the sides, you've got QDs on the front as well, either side there, and there are 2 studs underneath. So I've just put it on the ultra reliable real Harris bipod because they just don't break. So, talking about the stock, polymer outside, as you can see, it's also got an aluminium chassis within that, or an aluminium spine. I don't really like using the word chassis to some extent, but the aluminium spine runs from the forend all the way back and basically back here to the grip. So all the inlet area, you've got pillars in there as well, and when you actually use the bedding screws to check for bedding stress, there's no bedding stress in this at all. It does seem very nicely put in place. This is also sniper grey cerakoted, so you've got corrosion resistance from that. And I think it's a really smart looking rifle. Right, let's move on to shooting it. So, in the past few years, I've reviewed this rifle in magazines, many formats. I've actually shot it left-handed. I've had the left-handed only version, which was very nice to shoot. I'm pretty ambidextrous when it comes to shooting. It was quite nice to review that. Good for other people who aren't right-handed. So the stock itself is generally ambidextrous. Obviously, this is a right-hand bolt. It's got a long Picatinny rail on this long action, so you've got loads of space to move the scope where you want it for correct eye relief. Length of pull is adjustable. The comfort factor of this stock is, I would say, one of my absolute favourites in any respect. Now, if you take this rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, something like that, it's a real pussycat to shoot. If you want the brake on, you've got the brake, and that is obviously going to cut most recoil, gets a bit more noise, but it's a really easy rifle to shoot and very enjoyable to use. Of course, as you up the calibers, you get more recoil, and recoil isn't about, you know, oh, it's so recoil, there's so much pain, it's nothing to do with that. It's about controlling that recoil in a linear fashion and making sure you're not affecting your point of impact, things like that, and you're getting the most consistency, precision and accuracy from the rifle.
Your elevation's perfect.
Not being able to see my own bullet splash is a slight downside of this. Okay.
Crossing, yellow figure 11.
Firing.
Crossing. Hit, centre, repeat. Hit, just below centre, repeat.
I'm going to swap ammo because this is really hard extraction and I'm disturbing the gun massively.
Yeah, that's the match, was it?
Yes.
Yep.
I forgot to do this actually with the camera rolling, but because it ran out of power, I actually shot it 3 ways: break off, just bare barrel, break on, and moderator on. I shot it most of the time with the moderator on because the moderator was on review as well. And this has all been supplied by Edgar Brothers in the UK, who also supply the Hornady ammunition for the review. Now, break off, it kicks. It's quite a firm rifle, but as a hunting rifle, it's superb. And I quite like the connection with the recoil because it feels very pure. You can feel every precision little bit of that recoil. You can feel how hard you're loading into the bipod. You can feel the pulse through the gun. You can really assess the muzzle jump before you add extra weight and extra accessories. Now, of course, the brake is included. Put the brake on, that physical linear recoil impulse drops massively. Of course, the noise then becomes very significant and you get that very sharp recoil bang pulse through the gun, and of course that kind of shudder to the air effectively through the scope. But what you're also getting with brake off and brake on is you're not getting horrific problems with mirage, because there's about 80 odd grains of powder in a 300 PRC. That's burning quite significantly and you're getting a lot of heat on it. And although this barrel's a number 6 contour, 26 inches long, it's about 21.5mm at the muzzle, something like that, it does get hot. Now, there was no point of impact shift when it got hot, because frankly, when it got hot, you couldn't see for the mirage coming off it, and it was a 22-degree day. It's been quite warm recently shooting it, so, you know, things to bear in mind. Now, with the Svemco moderator on it, massive recoil reduction, not quite as much as the brake, but it changes the feel of the recoil, you know, it produces, gives you a bit more of a long push than a sharp bang. And of course, that moderator cuts the noise massively, cuts the recoil, but it gets hot, and it also gives you bigger problems with mirage. So the question is, what do you want your rifle for? Do you want it as an all-day range rifle, you know, if you're shooting multiple 5, 10, 15 round strings on competition targets, this, that and the other? Well, if you do that, 300 PRC is a bit big, and you've got that, you know, inherent problem with generating a lot of heat, which is always going to give you mirage issues. Not so much of a big deal in the winter, but as you get into spring and, well, it's summer now, it's June, you do sort of suffer a little bit from that. But the barrel's fully floated in the stock is stiff, and there is no mechanical problem with the rifle. It's just a case of considering which cartridge you want this rifle in.
Right, on the pig, check the shot.
Yeah.
Firing, same data.
Hit where the front leg joins together. Hit, kill zone, repeat. Hit, kill zone, repeat.
I'm out of ammo.
Okay?
Right, that was a lot easier with the Precision Hunter,
Yeah.
because the extraction issue wasn't there.
Yeah.
I could cycle the gun, fire again easily, quickly. Image resolution isn't great, and I've got quite a lot of mirage going on, but I felt much better that time because the ammo is just extracting and cycling with no effort or hassle.
Yeah.
So it takes one of the variables out of the equation.
I've got the image resolution okay here with the Schmidt. Yes, there is a bit of mirage, so you're losing some of the clarity.
Well, I'm running quite a hot barrel and moderator now anyway.
Well, I'll just go 2 with this one.
Okay,
I've come off a mill on the wind as before.
just give me one moment, I'm just going to adjust the camera angle.
Yeah, okay. Self-spotting, going on the pig, firing. Hit, repeat, firing. Hit, kill zone, empty. That worked. I'm on 6 clicks of wind left, 92 up, or 9.2 up, and it seems straightforward and simple.
I'm on 5 clicks left, put half a mil.
Yeah.
I was aiming slightly right though, for my good impact. So
yeah.
I'm going to say I'm on, yeah,
Yeah, my first impact was just to the right of the kill zone. I aimed just left edge of the kill zone. Second one was on it. Elevation wise, I'm on 9.2. What are you on? With the
8.0.
So it's shooting flatter than
It
the
is
338.
shooting flatter.
Yeah.
My first shots, when the wind was high, I was on 1.5 mil.
Yes.
At the end there, including my aim off, I reckon I was only on 0.3 of a mil.
Yeah.
In this wind. So the windage of it is definitely better in the wind.
It's crept in behind us again,
but
hasn't it?
That bullet's G1. It's a 0.777 G1 BC according to the data on the box.
Yeah.
So, but it's quite a light gun. It's not fierce recoil, but it's quite jumpy. And of course the moderator is giving me a lot of mirage straight away.
Yeah.
Velocity is actually extremely good, because velocity I think was only about 10 feet per second off box published data, but of course it is a 26-inch barrel, so you've got plenty of pipe. But the bolt action on that rifle with the precision hunter ammo is very slick and smooth.
Good.
But with the match ammo, it was quite hard extract. Well, it wasn't a hard extraction, but it was a heavy bolt lift.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And once it got the primary extraction wedge on it, it was hard to just fight it out the chamber.
Personally, in a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 308, this is one of the finest rifles I've ever reviewed, because I just think it's so well designed, specified, and it's not expensive as well. Even in the 300 PRC like this, it's £1,270 retail in the UK at the moment. So, you know, you will need to check with your local retailers to find out what the price is actually going to be to you. But that's what it is here and now. So, if you're shooting it in 300 PRC, you've got nearly £4 a shot's worth of ammunition as well. So do bear that in mind. Now, I'll put the data on screen for what I actually did on 100mm paper targets with the ammunition type. I had a 190 grain CX copper bullet, which is obviously the hunting bullet for use where copper is required, and there was also 212 grain ELDX. Now, Precision Hunter from Hornady is one of my absolute favourite ammunition types, because you get all the ballistics of the nice polymer tip bullets, and you get the expansion in controlled fashion if you are crossing over to hunting as well. And in relative terms, you know, in terms of price versus, you know, quantity, there's not a huge difference between that and the ELDM. Both those ammunition types shot perfectly through the gun. They both beat the MOA promise that Bergara give you with this rifle. Now, the third ammunition type I reviewed was the 225 grain ELDM, which you think, well, that's the best long range bullet for this rifle. The only thing is, it's quite pressure spiky, and on this gun you will notice at times, I normally shoot a 90-degree bolt like this, because 90-degree bolt's got the lightest bolt lift, and I can literally just flick it open like that and like that. Now, you will notice when I was shooting the 225 grain ELDM, you do notice I have to kind of clunk to get that last bit of primary extraction. And when you actually inspect the cases, I'll put a picture on screen if I can dig one out, you can see the little extrusion mark on the back of the brass head where the actual brass has extruded slightly into the ejector pocket, which is one of the pressure signs on any type of rifle, and it just happens that it's not the rifle's fault, it's just in those conditions that was a little bit pressure spiky, and you do notice it because you can't just flick it clean up like that. You kind of lift it and then it's clunk to get it out, because it's physically got to break that primary seal between the actually expanded brass and the chamber. But saying that, that's where a 2-lug bolt is king, because you do get the most mechanical extraction, and although it's got the higher bolt lift, which some people don't like, it hits your baseball cap and this, that and the other, it's got that beautiful simplicity and that amazing mechanical strength to the gun. Other than that, I have no qualms, no problems with the gun at all. I did shoot out to 1,000 metres with it when I was down in Wales at WMS Firearms. It hit the targets, but I can't say I shot it very well, because the mirage was horrendous that day. We couldn't see brilliantly, and we were pretty much going on the fact that you could hear the targets hit the steel. Sorry, we were pretty much going on the fact you could hear the bullets hit the steel. You couldn't even see where on the steel they were hitting, because of course the gun has got quite a lot of primary recoil. It jumps around a little bit. It's not a true target rifle. I was shooting it alongside a 338 steel core rifle, which is a physically very heavy rifle, and of course that maintains its position purely through the mass it has. just that little bit better, so you can spot your own bullet trace in flight, you can spot your own bullet impact on target or in the backstops as well. Now, interestingly, with that 225 grain ELDM bullet, the ballistics are actually very close to a 338 Lapo Magnum. And there are, you know, some people might think, well, just go for the 30 cal because it's a little bit simpler, more straightforward. But do bear in mind, it's not just about the cartridge, it's about the physical size, weight, stability of the rifle itself. Now, when we're talking about stability, a simple Harris bipod, simple rear bag, it's almost a sort of extreme varmint rifle, a single shot precision hunting rifle for longer distance where you do need that big muzzle energy. In the UK, do you need a 300 PRC? Probably not, but you know, I've shot 300 Win Mag for 15 years and I find it a great cartridge because although it's got quite a lot of oomph to it, I don't find it decimates things. Because you've got that nice big slow steady heavy bullet which of course maintains its ballistic efficiency and it isn't reliant on barrel length and volume of just velocity alone. But cartridge choice is your own thing, and personally I've actually got another rifle in 7mm PRC, and I think if I was going for this I'd probably go the 7mm PRC. Slightly lighter weight of bullet, ballistics are superb, there's plentiful energy from it. So again, it's horses for courses, it's what you like, but it was nice to actually shoot 300 PRC and get used to using one and just actually use them in a sort of more real rifle, because I have shot them before but it was in a true custom rifle. That was a big heavy target long range precision rifle, and of course it had a totally different shooting character to this physically lighter if not super light rifle. So there we go, there's some of my real world thoughts shooting this Bergara B14 Wilderness in 300 PRC. I have enjoyed using it, and I will say, I've said it before, in the smaller cartridges this rifle is an absolute gem. I would buy one tomorrow if I could only have one gun, to be quite fair, because they're not expensive and they're very good performers. So it makes it a really nice straightforward rifle for when you just want to go out and just enjoy shooting and not just, you know, messing with your gun and promoting your gun and saying, oh, I've got the most expensive gun, I've got the most customized gun. I was quite happy with the trigger on it. You can of course do any Remington 700 accessory you want to the trigger, and you know, in the long term it's easy to read barrel rifles like this, and I do like the fact, I'll put the picture on screen, that the recoil lugs on these are actually recessed into the front of the action so that they can't twist. It's a bit like having them pinned in the old days. Just makes it a bit simpler if you ever bed one and have to rebarrel it. So there we go. Right, well I hope you've enjoyed watching that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell and keep track of my regular uploads. And again, thank you to Edgar Brothers for all the Hornady ammunition and also this Bergara B14 HMR Wilderness rifle. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.